Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got the top 10 best EDC automatic knives in existence, in my opinion. These are going to be my most recommended for EDC if you're looking for an automatic knife. This list consists of knives that I have actually reviewed and handled on the channel. So if you don't like the screen recorded stuff, I completely understand, but I do have full, comprehensive, physical video reviews of me handling these knives and talking about them. So you can go back through and get more context. For that reason though, because there's a lot of knives on this list, I'm going to be speeding through pretty quickly. So if you want more details, I would invite you to go check out those reviews. You can find them all in my most recommended knives playlist. All of these knives are also completely and totally available, which is dictating this list. I'm not going to recommend something that's not available at the time of this recording. So I do have some honorable mentions at the end that are not available right now, but would have been included on the list if they were. So yeah, if you want to check those out, you can wait till the end. Also, you know, if you have a favorite automatic knife that doesn't end up on the list, just keep in mind it's probably either because I handled it and didn't like it, or I've just never handled it before. I've handled a ton of stuff, but I definitely haven't handled everything. But anyways, these are my favorites, most recommendable for EDC. Lots of different price ranges here, and we're going to move along pretty quickly. Thanks so much to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out Patreon, there's of course a link right down in the description. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Starting off here with the legendary Microtech Ultratech. These come in at $275. Like I said, all of these will be linked down below, so you can check them out if you want to. A ton of variety here, lots of different colors, lots of different blade finishes, blade profiles. They use premium materials like M390, 204P, LMAX, and they come in a lot of different, colors of handle material as well. 6061 T6, this is incredibly dependable, about 8.5 inches overall, 3.5 inches of cutting edge roughly. Very excellent carry profile. This is one of the very best OTF knives in existence. $275 is a lot of money, but you're getting an American-made OTF that definitely has better fit and finish, better balance, better quality overall than other OTF knives that you can get from some, companies that are manufacturing some of these OTFs out of China that are really trying as hard as they possibly can to copy Microtech, but they just, no. As somebody who's handled tons of those and tons of these, I can tell you, yeah, I can understand why they're tempting, but it's never going to be it's just not as good as an Ultratech. This is definitely one of the very best OTF knives in existence. By the way, there are both OTF and side opening automatic knives on this list. Just how I'm going to do it. What is an automatic knife, by the way? An automatic knife is a switchblade or a knife that is operated by a switch or button. Assisted knives are not automatic knives, so they will not be included on this list. Moving on here. By the way, if you're hearing a little bit of rattling and shaking around, it's my mic. It does that. This actually is also included in the number one spot. This is the UTX-85. I should have talked about it when I was talking about the Ultratech. Not actually taking up another place on the list because it is essentially just a smaller Ultratech. If you don't want a knife that's 8.5 inches overall, right, or you just can't carry a knife with a blade length like that and you still want an automatic knife, the UTX-85 is got a little bit more sluggish. It's not quite the same firing power as the Ultratech, but it's still completely and totally dependable, and you can get it for a little bit less money. I want to say these come in $240, something like that. Yeah, it's basically just a smaller Ultratech. One of the disadvantages of both of these knives is that they use the tri-wing, the proprietary tri-wing screws, but if I really need something done to it and I need to take it apart, right, you can buy the tool, or in my case, I would just send it back to Microtech, but also very recommendable. Moving on to the true number 2 spot on the list, this is the Guardian Tactical Recon 35. A little bit shorter than the Microtech Ultratech, actually half an inch, coming in about 7.98 inches overall, 3.3 inches of blade and cutting edge. You can get a lot of different blade shapes, a lot of different handle colors, right? A lot of the same reasons. It comes in about the same price, I think about $250 to $275, something like that. You can check out the links below to see the actual price. They're using LMAX, which I think is an excellent choice for an automatic knife. In some cases, S35VN, the hard-code anodized 6061 T6 aluminum. The main reason to pick this knife up over the Ultratech is because of the firing switch. It is much more friendly with the human thumb, easier to actuate because of the shape. It's non-symmetrical. It will absolutely be beneficial. It's really going to be friendly with the thumb, both firing and retracting the blade. It's also substantially easier to actuate because there's a steel plate under the switch, and there are ball bearings between the switch and the firing, or the plate and the firing switch. incredibly smooth. There's nothing else on the market quite like this. If you don't care about that really smooth, I mean, I'm not saying that the Microtechs are not easy to actuate and this one is, and that's, you know, that makes it better. If you really, really care about that, that's a good reason to pick this up. It's US made and it's using Torx screws on the frame. So depending on how you look at this, you know, this might be a better option for some people, but I owned this and absolutely loved it. Moving on here to the next one here, absolutely the Pro-Tec Tr3. This is a flagship model for Pro-Tec. This is a side-opening automatic knife using 154 cm steel and the 6061 T6 aircraft aluminum for the frame. Excellent carry profile, excellent ergonomic lines, thin on the spine and thin behind the edge, which is great. Very powerful side-opening firing action. In fact, Pro-Tec makes the very best, in my opinion, makes the very best side-opening automatic knives in the world. These are US made. Very, very powerful. People ask me all the time, do the launch knives from Kershaw fire as hard as a Pro-Tec? No, absolutely not. The launch knives are great, but if you really want dependability and that firing power, go with a Pro-Tec. Anybody who owns and has owned multiple Pro-Tecs will tell you the exact same thing. They're more expensive generally than a lot of other side-opening automatic knives on the market, but their tolerances are better, their fit and finish is better, right? Firing power is definitely better. This is excellent. And it's using hex on the body and pivot, which makes it very easy to take apart. This is a wonderful tool. Very recommendable considering it comes in, or it starts at about $150. God, this is a really good side-opening automatic knife. Moving on here, another excellent one from Pro-Tec. This is the Pro-Tec Strider Collaboration Automatic SNG. Definitely the most robust and meaty knife on the list, but I EDC mine, and mine's much heavier. It's in titanium. These come in standard in aluminum. They're going to be about the same size as an XM18 or the actual, you know, Strider, about the same length and profile, but the blade's not as thick. And because the blade's not as thick, the cutting geometry is a little better. They're using 154 cm, which again I think is excellent. For anybody who doesn't know, 154 cm is my favorite steel, coupled with CPM 154, the powder formed version of it. Good edge retention, good toughness, good corrosion resistance, and very easy to sharpen, which are all excellent qualities in an EDC knife. This version of it's probably a little bit more expensive, this all black one with the tritium on the firing button, but the standard version of this knife comes in at about $180 and is absolutely available right now. The only downside to this knife is the butt end is a little bit wide and thick, and the pocket clip is not in the best position, but if you can get around that, I think the major benefits here are it's probably the most durable automatic knife on the list. It has the external stops, which is great, keeping pressure away from the pivot, and the ergonomic lines are an absolute dream. You do sacrifice quite a bit of cutting edge because of that choil, but you're able to choke up right behind the blade, which is something that I find that I do often when I'm actually using my knives. Very, very recommendable. Moving on here, of course I'm going to include the Lightning OTF on this list. People ask me all the time, is it still worth buying the Lightning OTF in 2020? Yeah, for $35? Yeah, absolutely. You're not buying premium fit and finish. You're not buying premium tolerances. You're not buying premium materials. This is 440C, some type of aluminum, and paint basically on the scales. They come in a wide variety of different blade shapes and finishes, and then there's a lot of different colors you can get. It's all going to wear away. The blade steel's 440C. Some people are like, it's still good. It's not going to hold a candle to some of the premium powder form steels that you're going to get in the higher end part of the knife world, but it's fine. For 35 bucks, it's fine. I've got one right here that's been, my brother's had it for 4 years. What you're hearing is it's still firing consistently and without fail. It doesn't fail. It's awesome. There are a lot of OTFs that you can get at the $100 and $150 price point before you start to approach Microtech prices. I'm not interested in any of them. Honestly, if I want something that's higher quality than a Lightning, I'm going right to Microtech or Guardian Tactical or Pro-Tec. I'm just not interested in anything. The reason that this is impressive is because it is dependable, and that's basically it. It is a sharpened piece of metal that will cut for a little bit, and you're going to have to resharpen it, right? It's a downside to 440C. It's not going to hold an edge very long, and if you care about the fit and finish, and you care about the tolerances and things, and this might not be your cup of tea, but if you just need a dependable automatic knife that you're going to beat on, yeah, the Lightning OTF is still absolutely worth picking up. Very, very recommendable. Moving on here, for the exact same reason I included the Lightning, the Boker Kalashnikov. It is essentially the same thing, but in side-opening automatic form. The only thing I don't like about this knife is that they force you, they really want you to put your fingers in a very specific place in this knife, which is, that's stupid. I really hate when companies do that. But the redeeming qualities here are that it is, again, incredibly dependable considering how much it costs. The button on this one is not recessed, I suppose. in some weird circumstances, it might accidentally. The firing power is not quite as hard, but it is plenty hard considering what it costs, which is, it comes in at about 40 bucks. They're using AUS 8, which again is nothing special. It's stainless, it's tough. It probably won't hold an edge very long, but it's very, very easy to sharpen. The edge geometry of this guy is really good. They come in a lot of different blade shapes and geometries and things like that. They also come in a ridiculous amount of different colors and things. This also, I'm including the large and the XL, and I guess if you really feel like you need the XXL, which I don't think anybody really needs, but it's cool. All those, yeah, they're all great. Lots of different sizes. They come in a few different steels. You're going to have to pay a little bit more money in some situations, but any version of the Boker Kalashnikov is very recommendable. Again, you're not getting the same level of fit and finish and quality as you are in like a Pro-Tec or a Microtech. But is it good enough? Yeah, and it's definitely better than tons of other side-opening autos in the same price. In fact, at this price point, I'll say this right now. At this price point, the $40 mark, there's nothing that comes anywhere even close to the Lightning OTF and the Boker Kalashnikov in terms of just overall dependability and just the build quality. These are excellent for the money. You're going to have to spend a lot more to get something better than this. That's my honest opinion. I'll link these again right down below. Moving on here, yeah, absolutely, the Benchmade 9400. We have a Benchmade dealer in town. They've been here for at least 10 years. I've probably handled almost every single Benchmade knife that is commonly available in the production line that they've ever come out with. I know they've got a lot of other automatic knives, but this is the only Benchmade auto that's on the list because I just haven't been that impressed with Benchmade's other auto stuff, both their side opening and OTF designs. But this, I love the 940, and the 940 is one of the most legendary EDC folding knives ever. Great ratios, very lightweight, 3.4 inches of cutting edge, 7.8 inches overall for what, 3 to 3.5 ounces? Yeah, it's all of that, but in automatic form, which means you don't have to deal with the Omega springs, which they're fine, but that can potentially create an issue with the knife down the road. Yeah, this honestly is on par with what I expect from Pro-Tec, both in terms of firing power and overall fit and finish. On top of that, you get the legendary warranty with Benchmade, which is truly excellent. That is part of the reason why you pay a little bit more. A lot of people are going to be quick to join. That's too much money. Benchmades are overpriced. Considering their main competition is Pro-Tec, and Pro-Tec really likes that $200 to $250 price point, I'd say they're fairly spot on here. I'd love it if this knife was $180, but then again, I'd love everything if it were $20 to $40 less, right? Or free, but it's not. It's a US-made knife, excellent ergonomics, excellent blade profile, right? The green and the purple has always been weird. If they made a version of this that was black with a silver backspacer, I'd want to jump on that a lot more, right? This knife translates so well to an automatic knife. It's definitely one of the best automatic knives available for EDC. About, did I say it, $220, something like that? You can check the link down below. Moving on here, probably the most expensive knife at base on this list. This is the Microtech Troadon. Shorter than the Guardian Tactical Recon 35, but that same meaty, robust feeling. Again, the major benefit of buying an OTF, if I haven't talked about this, is the fact that you can get a double-edged blade as shown here. The blade, when retracted, is completely sheathed safely inside of the frame, so you don't have to worry about catching your finger. But when it's deployed, you essentially get double the edge retention of whatever steel it's made out of, which in this case is usually M390 or 204P. So that's great. If you like the idea of an automatic knife and a Microtech knife, but the UTX-85 is too small and even the Ultratech feels a little bit too skinny, you can get a little bit more of that robust feeling in this guy. Curiously, these still come in pretty expensive at like $350, $360. I think these are a little bit high. I suppose I can kind of understand in a way them being slightly more expensive than the UTX-85. But, if you like the look, you like the profile, you want that extra meatiness, this is going to appeal to people, in a different way, I guess, in some cases. It's the Microtech mentality in some cases. Some people just want that Microtech look, the fuller, the holes, right, the lines on the handle scales. The ergonomics on this thing are really, really good. This is just a great knife, and it's a much better EDC profile than the than the Combat Troadon. So I guess if you're looking for something that's a little bit smaller than the Guardian Tactical, but still has that meaty feeling and you prefer it over the UTX-85, that's exactly the kind of people who are going to want to pick up the Troadon. Really, really cool. And despite being, you know, a little bit higher price than everything else on this list, it's still one of the best EDC automatic options that's out there. Moving on here. Yeah, the only knife in the Kershaw launch line that really has actually interested me. I don't know what the launch line, like, the idea behind it's great, right? US made automatic knives with good materials hovering around the $100 price point. It's great. Unfortunately, a lot of the designs just look weird. They're just not appealing. This guy, much more straightforward, excellent blade profile, one that's really going to be great for EDC. These are shorter. I want to say they come in around 7¼ inches overall, using CPM 154, and like I said, US made. 6061 T6 aluminum on the frame. The firing action is good. It's not quite as powerful as a Pro-Tec, but it's good. And at $100, yeah, it's a no-brainer. This is a really, really good EDC automatic knife. And again, I mean, I have to keep saying this. It's great that it's made in the United States, or at least mostly made in the United States. How much exactly, I don't know, but that's nice that it's mostly made in the United States. This is an excellent EDC knife, very dependable, very, very recommendable, and my favorite in the launch line by a landslide. Moving on here to the last one actually on the top 10 list, and this actually includes two knives, the Microtech Dirac Delta and Dirac. This is my favorite aesthetic design of an OTF on the market, period. I love symmetry, and in this case, they decided to put the firing switch on the face, which I think is optimal considering where my hands actually go when I reach into my pocket to grab my OTF. Love that. And because of the position of the firing switch, this thing is already completely and totally ambidextrous and just leaving the pocket clip exactly where it is. You literally just flip the knife over and it's ready for left-handed carry. Again, M390 and 204P on the blade. This guy, the Dirac Delta, is the same length and cutting edge, roughly, of the Combat Troadon, which is the bigger brother to the Troadon, but it comes in at way less money. $350 for the big boy, and roughly the same price as an Ultratech for the smaller guy, $260, $270. This guy's about the same size as the UTX-85, but again, all the way around, honestly, I love the Ultratech, and I love the UTX-85, but I like the Dirac Delta more than the Ultratech, and I like the Dirac more than I like the UTX-85. The contoured frame is excellent. That, to me, is a big benefit. I love the face position firing switch. These are all dual edge right now. There's a lot of different forms that they come in. Not quite as many as the Ultratech, which is going to be a downside for some people, but oh my gosh, the ergonomic lines in this thing, the comfort in hand, it's excellent. One of the only flaws in this guy is that it's still using the proprietary tri-wing screws, but if you can get around that, this is definitely one of the best. The Dirac Delta and Dirac are some of the best, or two of the best OTF knives in existence for EDC, especially, you know, with the Dirac Delta, which we're going to scoot back here real quick. The Dirac Delta being a big, long thing, much thinner in profile than the Combat Troadon, which makes it much easier to carry. For a 9¼ inch knife, 9.1 inch knife, something like that, much easier to carry than the Combat Troadon. I just absolutely love this thing. I love the price point, love that it's US made, right? It's just excellent. That's going to conclude the top 10 list, but I have a few honorable mentions. Again, I've handled way more automatic knives than what's just on this list, right? But out of the ones that I've handled, there are a few that are not available that definitely would have made this list if they were available. So I'm going to talk about those real quick. And actually one is available, but there's another reason it didn't make the list. Anyways, this is the Pro-Tec and Prometheus Design Works Invictus, based on the manual Invictus from Prometheus Design Works. This came in pretty expensive at about $275, but my goodness, is it one of the best translations of a manual knife into an automatic knife in existence. 154 cm and one of the best profiles for just the simple profile of this, and the ergonomic lines are just excellent. This thing appeals to me aesthetically, and then it has the build quality of a Pro-Tec knife, which is also excellent. Very powerful firing action. Has the safety switch, doesn't really need it. I love that the only piece of hardware, the only piece of adjustable hardware that's actually shown on the front, the presentation side of this knife is the pivot. The screws, none of them show on this side. They're all on the other side, which is really, really cool. I think it's mainly the presentation of this knife, but also it makes an excellent cutting tool, and it's very easy to control. The jimping is all in the right place. Oh my God, I love this knife. little higher than a lot of other Pro-Tec knives. That's gonna, you know, if it were available, that's what would hold people back. But I pulled the trigger on it immediately when it came out, and I'm glad that I did, because it's one of my favorite automatic knives of all time. Will it be available again? I don't know. This was the second run of these through Pro-Tec. There was a 2-year gap or a 3-year gap between the last run, so maybe, and if we see it again, it'll probably be a little bit, but I hope they do it again. Moving on here, oh my God, the Pro-Tec automatic Rockey. This is a Les George and Pro-Tec collaboration. The Rockey is essentially the original Rockey is a custom piece from Les George, and he made a mid-tech version called the VECP. This is essentially the automatic version of those. Pro-Tec decided to do, in some cases, some texturing on the handle scales, which is just excellent. Everything that I love about the VECP and Rockey, except in automatic form. A little bit thinner blade stock and functional jimping, which is something that was not present on the VECP or Rockey. It was just aesthetic, just visual jimping that it looked like it was functional, but not really. One of the only flaws with this knife is the where you put your index finger. It's quite a ways from the cutting edge, but even with that, this knife is just so incredible. This is definitely one of my favorite automatic knives in existence. These came in originally at like 200, I think $200 in base form. CPM 154, again, one of my favorite blade steels of all time. Very powerful firing action. In fact, I have an example of this here locally. My old one was actually sold to a buddy who still works at the dealership I used to work at, and I'm in there periodically for maintenance, and I always ask to see it. That thing is beat into the ground. It is so beat up, and it fires so hard. God, this thing is just a rocket. There's so much recoil with this thing. I don't know what the deal is with it, but God, this thing is awesome. I really miss this knife, and I wish that they would bring it back. Moving on here, another Pro-Tec Les George collaboration, the SBR. This is basically the same thing as the Rockey, but smaller, which solves a lot of legality issues for people who can't carry automatic knives of a certain blade length. It's the same build quality, same, you know, really powerful firing action. These are super snappy. These came in S35EN, which is intriguing for a lot of people who view 154CM or CPM 154 as not necessarily obsolete steels, but just dated steels. They're not. They're, just so everybody knows, 154CM is still an excellent, it's one of the most well-rounded steels in existence, but S35EN has more of that super steel appeal, so that had, you know, that was present in this knife. I want to say these were they $250? I can't remember. They're not available right now, but I really hope it's newer than the Rockey. I don't know that these are necessarily discontinued. They're just not available right now. If they become available again, absolutely. I would definitely put this knife on the list. Very recommendable. And last but not least, a knife that is available right now, and I will absolutely link down below, the Microtech Combat Troadon. There's 2 reasons this knife didn't make the list. Number 1, it is a hulking freak of an OTF. 9 1/4 inches overall, but substantially more robust than the Dirac Delta. I own this knife, and I love it. I absolutely love it. If you're really going for that all-encompassing, just mega overbuilt OTF thing, right? If that's the appeal, then yeah, you'll be satisfied with this. The other issue with it is that it is ridiculously expensive. Base price on these guys is $485. That's too much money. Microtechs in general have a reputation for being a tad overpriced. I think best case scenario, this is a $400 knife. And for people wanting to point out, it's just aluminum and 204P. I can get that from Tucson. It's not about the materials, right? The materials are great. They're definitely premium, but you have to consider if this were titanium or steel on the outside, it would undoubtedly be more expensive, and it would also be way too heavy. It's already pretty heavy, right? The chassis is steel anyway, so you have the added weight there. It's just too big and heavy as it is for EDC, and it's way too expensive. But for people who want to go ahead and pull the trigger on it, it is going to bring you happiness if OTFs are your thing, right? The one that I own is actually even more expensive. It's a Hound, which is a signature series or hand-ground blade. So those actually come in at $600. I still love it, but my God, is that a lot of money for what you're getting here. Still really cool. If it weren't so heavy and it weren't so expensive and it weren't so long, it might have made the list, but this isn't really something that I would call a good EDC OTF. It's just got that crazy factor, right? It's just something that I just love it. It doesn't have really much of a chance of place on this list, even if the price were lower, but I just really like it. Anyways, guys, that is going to conclude this list of my top 10 and honorable mentions. Like I said, the knives that are available from this list will be linked right down below so you can check them out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favorite automatic knives are either from this list, or if you don't agree with any of it, let me know what your favorite automatic knives are in existence. It's always fun to hear that. Like I said, be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.